This frightening tale begins when a lovely couple, Jeff and Haley, arrive at a dinner party at a huge bungalow. Jeff is an aspiring playwright who is there primarily in search of a job, so before they go inside, he suggests Haley behave appropriately in front of the hosts. In response, Haley assures him that she won't ruin his plan and that he doesn't have to worry about her. Meanwhile, inside the bungalow, we see two middle-aged men, Sebastian and Carmine, preparing dinner for the guests. Right before ringing the doorbell, Jeff asks Haley if she has got her pills. It seems like Haley uses some kind of medication to counter her mental condition. Just then, Sebastian attends to them at the door, but for some reason he yells at the couple to leave his house immediately. Now Haley and Jeff are left in shock, unsure of what just happened. With this, Haley suggests that they should leave, but Jeff decides to give it another try. He knocks on the door once again, and this time Sebastian opens the door while wearing a Halloween mask. Then he jokingly reveals that he was just messing with them earlier. Now Sebastian apologizes to the couple and gracefully invites them inside the building. Right as they get inside, Sebastian gets a little weird with Haley, and he even makes Jeff a little uncomfortable. He then asks the couple to surrender their cell phones so that their dinner won't be disturbed. Haley seems suspicious at first, but since Jeff has both their phones, he drops them inside a bag without further questions. After Sebastian leaves them to settle down, Haley presents her concerns regarding Sebastian's odd behavior, but Jeff tells her to let it slip because these are powerful people who have connections everywhere, and he just wants to impress them to get the job. Just then, the couple is interrupted by a woman named Sadie who asks them if they would like a drink, and somewhere in the same building, we see a man named Vincent using a blade to draw doodles on his forearm. As time passes by, Haley starts feeling anxious and Jeff suggests she take one of her pills. Haley feels like there is something really weird going on in this place and pops in a pill for her anxiety. A few moments later, Vincent arrives at the scene and meets the couple. He reveals that he works for an investment firm that handles Carmine and Sebastian's affairs. As the three of them are observing the painting, Sadie enters the room once again. This time, Haley compliments her dress, and Sadie does a quick turn to display her creation. Moments later, Haley goes to use the washroom, where she finds an alive fish in the sink. She then starts remembering her childhood, where a young Haley is sitting down with a therapist. In a flashback, we see Haley's stepfather mistreating her mother, and as little Haley helplessly watches them fight, her stepfather swiftly approaches her. Just then, Haley is back in the present where she notices the sink with no signs of the fish. Just as she got out of the washroom, she meets a naked woman named Agatha. Haley immediately turns away after seeing the naked woman, but Agatha doesn't seem to be bothered by it and asks Haley if she's there for the dinner party. Agatha reveals she's a renowned novelist and tries to initiate a conversation, but Haley gets increasingly uncomfortable with the situation and keeps trying to leave. Furthermore, Agatha tries to undress Haley at one point, but just as she's about to leave, Sadie arrives at the scene, enabling the anxious woman to get out of that wicked environment. In the next scene, we see everyone seated at the dining table, including Carmine, Vincent, Agatha, and the others. Before they start dining, Jeff compliments Carmine on owning such a beautiful house, and as they chat, Sebastian notices Jeff and Haley gossiping. When Carmine urges him to reveal what they're trying to hide, Haley reveals that Jeff carries around a lucky charm in the form of a chess piece. Then he shows the elites a king piece that he always carries around and reveals that it belonged to his grandfather. Next, Carmine asks Jeff if he made sure that nobody is aware of this dinner. Jeff assures them that no one knows. In fact, their friends and family think they're off on a vacation. Haley seems confused and attempts to know the reason behind the dinner being kept a secret. But Jeff stops her and says that they totally understand why the dinner is kept a secret. Soon, Sadie brings in a deck of cards to play, and Vincent announces that the winner of the game gets to decide what kind of music will be played tonight. But before they begin, Vincent provides a clear explanation of how the game is played. At first, Sadie chooses a card for herself, and then she will invite everyone else to choose a card for themselves. Evidently, each card determines the path of the seeker's life, and eventually a winner card is picked by Sadie, who will then get to pick the dinner music. Once everyone selects a card, Sebastian takes the lead by revealing the chosen card. One by one, everyone unveils their respective cards. Jeffrey discloses the Hanged Man, which symbolizes sacrifice, while Haley selects the Death card, symbolizing rebirth. Shortly after, Sadie reveals that she picked the Fool as the winner card, prompting Sebastian to express his joy and exclamation, and as decided earlier, he gets to put on the music for the night, a classic operatic piece. While not everyone appears to appreciate the music, Sebastian relishes it wholeheartedly, and with this he pours a very special wine called Chianti for the guests. Just as all of them are dining together, Haley starts getting tensed up and anxious. When Agatha asks her if she's fine, Haley tells her that due to her childhood trauma, she has frequent anxiety attacks. She reveals that her stepfather used to force himself on her when she was a child, and also her mother. But one day, Haley's mother killed her stepfather, and eventually she ended her life as well. This incident scarred Haley for life, and she spent the next 2 years in a mental hospital. Hearing this, Carmine starts revealing the dark secret of his family as well. He discloses that his mother was a surgeon and his father was a sheriff in the local town. One day, Carmine's mother brought home a human liver and his father cooked it and made him eat the whole thing. And ever since this incident, Carmine started acquiring a taste for human flesh. Meanwhile, Haley gets increasingly anxious and she asks for a brief moment to talk to Jeff alone. Inside the washroom, Jeff gets angry at Haley for revealing such personal details about her family at the dinner table and forbids her from repeating such behavior again. He then gives Haley a minute to collect herself and exits the bathroom. But right outside, Jeff finds Sadie waiting for them and asks if everything's alright. As Jeff explains how Haley gets anxious in a social setting, he suddenly starts coughing. Seeing this, Sadie suggests that he should probably drink some more wine to clear his throat. And a few minutes later, they are all once again back at the dinner table, but this time Jeff seems a little bit off. Now, while Vincent is narrating a story about his life, Jeff is having trouble maintaining his composure, and a few more minutes later, Sebastian gets up and puts on his black gloves while Jeff and Haley start to lose consciousness. Eventually, Sebastian runs through Jeff's neck with a kitchen knife, and Haley starts screaming in despair. Then Sadie approaches the mutilated Jeff and proceeds to ingest his blood, and on top of that, like the true cannibal he is, Carmine gets up from his seat and prepares to chop off Jeff's body. Meanwhile, Haley watches this horrific scene unfold in front of her eyes, but she's still not sure whether this is real or just her hallucinations. After a while, Haley partially regains her consciousness and finds herself alive. And almost immediately, Carmine comes in front of her and reveals that each one of them has specific desires that they will reveal to her, and she will be kept alive until then. At first, she's taken to Agatha's room where the woman forces Haley to drink wine from the bottle. Haley then proceeds to mistreat Jeff's corpse, which disgusts her to the core. As if the environment is not creepy enough, we see Sadie praying and talking in front of a strange deity. Meanwhile, back inside Agatha's room, she reveals her childhood trauma to Haley. According to Agatha, when she was a child, she used to love a girl and decided to marry her. But her father was against her decision, and as a punishment, he forced Agatha to be intimate with a dead man's body. And ever since that day, Agatha developed a sick fetish, a fetish to be intimate with dead bodies. Now, after Agatha finishes with her desires, it's Sadie's turn to have fun with Haley. She brings in a bunch of herbs with her and starts explaining their usage to the terrified girl. Meanwhile, Haley remains restrained with her hands tied behind her back, while Sadie's busy preparing a potion out of the herbs. Later on, Sadie runs through her palm and adds a few drops of her own blood into the mixture, and eventually Haley succumbs to tears of despair as Sadie compels her to drink the potion she has just prepared. After a while, Sadie goes away, and now it's Carmine's turn to mess with the poor girl. Carmine starts by explaining the process of a post-mortem examination of a dead body, including the mechanisms of decay. In the meantime, Haley, unaware of what is happening, becomes increasingly frightened for her life. But just then, Carmine proceeds to pick different parts of Jeff's organs and cuts them into pieces while Haley's forced to watch. However, when Carmine is busy working on Jeff's body, Haley manages to set her legs free, and soon enough she manages to completely free herself and quickly runs outside. Right outside the house, Haley comes across Sheriff Brooks, a local law enforcement officer who manages to soothe her anxiety. Haley starts explaining her entire situation to the cop, but moments later, Sebastian makes his appearance at the scene. Furthermore, the officer does not seem to believe a single word uttered by the terrified woman. He then takes both Haley and Sadie back into the house to check what's really going on. But in a surprising turn of events, Sheriff Brooks appears to be in alliance with Carmine and his group. He even suggests that Carmine use metal cuffs next time so that their victim won't escape. Now Haley finds herself engaged in a brief struggle with Vincent, who beats her up brutally just before Sadie arrives and stops the man. Then Haley's tied up once again to the chair, and this time she's being prepared for some kind of ritual performed by Sadie. As the wicked woman begins chanting some creepy prayers, each member partakes in consuming a portion of Jeff's flesh, which has been prepared by Carmine. Meanwhile, Haley's repulsed by this gruesome act, and she ends up throwing up. Soon after that, everyone gets seated at the dinner table, and Carmine starts serving the dishes that he prepared out of Jeff's body. And as the group starts eating dinner, Haley gets anxious once again and demands her pills, but Sebastian ignores her plea for help, and instead he forces the poor girl to eat a piece. As a result, Haley starts shaking vigorously and goes into shock. Suddenly, Haley picks up a knife and stabs Sebastian in the gut multiple times, and when Carmine gets up to stop her, she snatches the cleaver from his hand and instantly buries it into Vincent's head. She then quickly runs away from the room. Later, the group argues on how to deal with Haley, while Carmine suggests waiting for Sheriff Brooks to arrive since he's the only one with a gun. Feeling agitated by this conversation, Agatha decides to step out to get some fresh air. Meanwhile, the rest of the group starts searching for Haley inside the house, but in a surprising turn of events, Sadie stabs Sebastian in his neck from behind. On the other hand, Haley encounters Agatha in the outdoor pool, and the two of them struggle for a while. Eventually, Haley gains the upper hand, and after an intense knife battle, she digs Agatha in the back. Just then, Sheriff Brooks arrives at the scene and points his gun at Haley. But at this point, Haley seems to have gained increased agility and strength. She quickly moves forward while the cops fire his gun at her, and seconds later, Haley snatches his gun and shoots the sheriff right in his head. After a while, Carmine finds a fatally wounded Sebastian who's barely standing, but before they can process their environment, Haley attacks both of them from behind and snaps Carmine's neck to death. Now the only ones left alive are Sebastian, Sadie, and Haley. Next, we see Sebastian sitting calmly at the dinner table, waiting for Haley to kill him. As he begins to explain the story behind his favorite opera, Haley waits behind him. She then brutally bites Sebastian's neck and leaves him to die. In the end, Sadie appears behind her, and Haley immediately points a gun at her. She then fires a couple of bullets, but apparently the gunshots do not have any effect. When Haley asks her if she's a witch or a devil, Sadie reveals that she was the first woman that came into existence after the earth was created. Furthermore, Sadie reveals that she ate the forbidden fruit and willingly left the paradise created by God, whom she calls the Father. She believes that Haley is just like her, and even reveals that Haley was the one who killed her stepfather, not her mother. Now Sadie asks the confused woman to be her partner and offers Haley the forbidden black fruit, and as she eats the fruit as instructed, Sadie kisses her and indicates that Haley has finally come home. In the final scene of the movie, we see another couple arriving at the house just like Haley and Jeff. The movie comes full circle as the couple opens the door and finds Haley greeting them just like Sebastian. Inside, she introduces Sadie as her wife to the new couple, and the two of them start preparing dinner. Make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching.